Welcome back to my podcast, the show where we dive deep into the world of real estate, leadership, and building powerful partnerships that move businesses forward. I'm your host, Scott Kumler, and today we got a very special guest joining us. I'm super excited to have Amanda Aguiar as a guest. Amanda's a beast. She broke six figures as a real estate agent while still working a full time job. In today's podcast, Amanda will break down her step by step process on how she did that. No fluff, just straight strategy, and how she was making over $100,000 per year while still working a full time job. If today's episode sparks ideas for you and you're an agent who wants to explore bigger opportunities, we'd love to connect. If you're interested in learning what a partnership with me and Amanda looks like, either call or text me at 623-387-2688 or set up a Zoom meeting with my calendar link below. Also, don't forget to hit the like button and the subscribe button to see more amazing podcasts like this in the future. Now let's get started. Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm super excited today to have a very special guest on the podcast. I have Amanda here today to kind of take us through her journey. So, welcome to Amanda.
Hey, thank you so much for having me here, Scott. I really appreciate it to have the opportunity for us to, chat and share some experiences here today.
Yep, awesome. So, as always, I always kind of like starting off by hearing a little more about your backstory. What you did before you got into real estate, and then what got you into real estate, and kind of those beginning steps. So, I don't know if you kind of want to just take us through a little bit of your journey and kind of what got you into real estate to begin with.
Yeah, absolutely. So originally, if you guys cannot already hear a little bit of an accent, I'm from Brazil, but I have been in the US for over 20 years. I was here in the state of Washington. Of all places, this is where my family moved. Being an immigrant family, everybody in my family kind of from the beginning had their little small businesses. And even like back on, my early 20s, I had a cleaning business while I was going to school and getting my bachelor in business. And then, my mom was just kind of like, hey, I brought you here to this country. You should be in a desk and not cleaning people's homes. So I got into my career into the tech industry, which is very big here in the Seattle area. So I was working that for the last 13, 14 years, kind of going through the corporate ladder per se. I have to say that I was probably comfortable in a way that, I already was making my six figure in my job, senior manager. I was really just more, managing the projects, not the day-to-day task. I had other managers that I helped under me, had the opportunity to, manage people from other parts of the world, which was pretty cool. And I thought that that was really forever, like I really was passionate about, what I was doing. And so it was not until like kind of pandemic came around that I was just like I was already working remotely before even that happened. But I'm very social, so like getting outside of my house was very important. So when kind of pandemic hit and you're spending a lot of time at home, I just started thinking like, man, I love what I'm doing, but I'm not feeling challenged. And I kind of went back to my work and I say, hey, is there more that you guys can want to give me? Is there more projects? And obviously things were a little bit slow because of the pandemic. So they're like, hey, your clients are happy, keep doing what you're doing. And I had a friend that has been in real estate for a long time. I never thought about real estate. Like at that point, I already had the opportunity to have bought my first condo, and then I'm now, which was rented, and me and my husband, have bought a house. So I kind of like understood the power of owning something, but not to the like, to the fact of helping others or anything like that. But yeah, and especially, I had that, which I'm sure a lot of people can relate. Just, if you are in, selling homes, you're a salesperson, and I just absolutely dreaded the word sales. But fast forward to the pandemic, I just felt like I needed something more. I was just searching for what that was. I was interviewing for other positions with, top companies here in Seattle, which some I got offers, but it wasn't quite what I wanted. So I was just like, no, I don't need to move from where I'm at. And then I decided to just, go through and get my license. But it was very like, let's see what this happens, like no, not a big vision or a plan until I was close to about go and do my test. And I was like, okay, I don't know if I'm ready to, to leave my career that I built and, and I'm doing well. And to go into this real estate that I know nothing about it. I already had passed a little bit the hump where, people are selling homes like crazy in 2021 or 2022 because I didn't get in the business until 2023. And so, long story short, I made a decision that I was going to try both jobs, continue working my full time in real estate for a full year because I wanted to see the cycle of the year. And then from there, decide if I wanted to do real estate. But I was not going to quit before. If it was easy, if it was great, or if it was bad, I just had that commitment. And then also I knew my lifestyle was going to change a lot because now I'm adding, more work to me, and I am the type of person that I like to do things with excellence. So once I say like today, hello everybody, I'm a realtor, I felt like I was with two full-time jobs because every single moment I had, I invested in real estate.
Nice, nice, awesome. So you got into real estate. You tried, you said you were gonna try for a year as a part time or well, full time real estate and full time, with your other job. Are you still out of curiosity, are you still full time? Do you work your other job, or are you now full time in real estate?
Yeah, no, this was, like I 1 month in, I absolutely fell in love with real estate, but I was not enough, you make money and then you spend money, right? So I had like a very high lifestyle that I just wasn't ready to make that jump into just real estate. Even though I did really well, my first 5 months, I already had, sold 5 homes, and, I was almost already breaking to a, six figures. So you say like, that should be enough. But like I am more a cautious person. So I was just like, I need to see where this goes. So it still took me about a little over 2 years before I jumped on into real estate full time. So this year it's been about what, 9 months or so that I am doing full time.
Nice, nice. I know I talk to a lot of agents who have that same type of mindset, right? Like where they get into real estate, they have another job, but they're afraid to kind of jump into it fully because, they obviously need to have income to support their family. But one of the things that I find more than anything else, it can be done. And I talk to a lot of agents, and I tell them the same thing. I'm like, it can be done. You can jump into real estate and have a very successful career, even if you have a full time job as well too. But one of the things that I find more than anything else is that they're not able to accomplish that because real estate ends up becoming their third, basically kind of a hobby or their third priority, right? They got their full
Mhm.
time job, which is their number one priority, and they kind of have that safety net. And then their personal life, things they like to do with their family, friends, they like to do functions, becomes their second priority, and then the third priority kind of becomes real estate. And because they're not really focused in on it, it definitely becomes a lot tougher to have success in real estate. Not because they can't do it, but just because they don't have the desire or the motivation to do that. So, for yourself, for someone who got into real estate and did that full time and also worked a full time job, what did your I guess what did was like your lead generation? What was your schedule look like? How were you able to kind of create that success while still working a full time job when you first got into real estate?
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I definitely, even as I was getting my license, or I should say, even before getting my license, being married with, my husband had 2 kids, and, all the, as I said, like I'm very social. So we had to have that conversation first and foremost that, that our life dynamic was going to change, right? Or the weekends that we had as a family time, all of a sudden, I mean, my first couple of months, I was working 7 days a week. I kind of still do, but it was like even more intense because I had to make the best out of the free time that I had. And so that conversation, happened. So I feel very grateful that I never felt pressure from my family that I was not showing up. So, so if I just like I'm not home for dinner few nights because I'm showing homes. If we're not during the day, I just try like at least on the weekends, the evenings was available for my family. And then I had to, to dial back on all my social stuff, like not every birthday parties, not every event. I was just so exhausted. It was not even that I didn't want to go. I was just so exhausted. So I did had to go through a little bit of that hump. But as I said, I was committed to the process for that whole year because I wanted to see, is this for me? And if I, and this is something that I would, recommend to someone that makes this part-time and just, consider, or maybe you are, and you're just like, having those questions, like and you have to commit that to yourself, right? I mean, that was something that I said to myself, and because I wanted to see, could I make this work, right? And it's not just like And obviously we all have different goals, right? If you just want to make few extra $1,000 a year and maybe selling one, two homes, it's great. And maybe that's your goal and that's fine. But if you want to change your life, you're gonna have to have some sacrifices. And so, all my meetings for my full-time job, was obviously on my calendar. And then, a lot of the things, if I'm meeting with a client, it happened, kind of after 4 o'clock. So I was already done with my other job, right? So 4 o'clock weekends, it was, open houses. So kind of going back, my three things that I started from day one, and I feel like it's still my primary ways of my lead generation. Open houses, that was something that I started from day one. Again, if you don't have clients, if you're not making other decisions to do other lead generations, you need to be in front of people that potentially wants to buy. So I feel like open houses, it's absolutely amazing. And you're doing on the weekend, you can choose the time. I was very specific. Like I just didn't call a listing agent. I say, can I do an open house? And I let them tell me when. Again, that's how everybody works. I was just like, hey, I would like to do this time to this time. And I would make, 10, 20 calls just maybe to get one open house, for that weekend. And then again, I was in a slow season, no clients. I was doing open houses Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, just things after, 4 to 6, that little time that I still got a chance to come home and spend time with the family, but I felt like I was checking off the box of, trying to be in front of people. The second thing was my sphere. And this one was hard because again, I was with that mindset that I had to work on like I don't want to sell anything, right? So here I am, but it's still I was still excited and ready for the process. I took me a couple of months in the beginning, but I literally communicated with every phone number that I had in my phone from A to Z. A lot of numbers I had no idea how I met them because you put someone's first name and I'm like, I don't even know how I know this person, but I'm texting them. So I just knew that being new agent, I had to be louder than everybody else in my community because I had a ton of people that I knew locally that are realtors. So I think, that was my kind of my game plan is just like be loud, be out there. And then social media from day one, I was posting at least 4 to 5 times a week. In the beginning was very crazy because even though I had some training, but I was still figuring out who I am in all of that. And so I was like posting every single day, editing every day. It was a lot of work. I didn't miss an opportunity, and I use my open houses for content too, which I still do these days. I feel like it's a missed opportunity if you go to an open house and you sit there, and if it's empty and you just are, I don't know, whatever you do on your phone or just looking out the window. I am like recording. I'm recording the house. I'm recording myself, getting B-rolls, and I was alone. So it's just me, my phone, my mic, and my tripod.
Yep. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I love that. I mean, definitely you should never waste. I always tell agents, I mean, even if you have a showing, and if the person goes to and doesn't show up, you don't miss an opportunity to take a video of the tour of the home, and
Yeah.
then, post on social media. So at least that way people know that you're working. So I mean, I definitely love the idea of, taking one activity and kind of making like multiplying it and doing multiple different things with that. So, now I know when you also got into real estate, you do a lot of luxury, and so. My question, especially when, real estate, there's a lot of real estate agents that get in this industry and they think that same thing. They see $1 million this and they see all these different types of things as far as like luxury listings, and they like love the idea of eventually getting into luxury space, So what broke you into luxury real estate? Was it by accident? You just happened to have a couple, luxury clients, or was that a strategic thing that you were targeting as when you first got into real estate?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. As I said, like, I closed 5 deals in 5 months. None of them were over $1 million, right? But again, I come with my background in tech, like branding always has been a big thing for me because, I work with big names like Microsoft and whatnot. So like I already kind of had that concept of me coming to real estate. I needed to know my brand. So maybe I was a little bit more obsessed on that than a lot of a typical agent, but like, from day one, I had my branding, I had my colors, like I had a plan, right? And all of this I did like within the first like 2 weeks before I announced that I was in real estate. But I already live in a town that even ugly homes in here, it's almost $1 million. So I kind of like, and I'm not trying to this to sound anything like it's the lifestyle that I like. I want to be around, luxury things. And so it was just like, how do I get myself involved even more so to that? So I think it came from things, again, going back to my branding, how I dress, the places I am at, right? I know not everybody is for that. And I'm not saying that you need to be dressing expensive or anything like that. And it was not. That is just like how put together you are. Because if someone is about to maybe give their listing over $1 million or work with you, and I don't know if you're in flip-flops and a t-shirt, and maybe then comes more like you can talk really well and communicate really well. I wasn't there yet with my communication, right? So for me, it had to be the first appearance. So all the listings that I was doing for open houses, even though none of them were mine, I was specifically very like, I want all the homes that are over $1 million. I want all the homes that are newer. I want all the homes that are staged. So I only called the listing agents of those specific homes because, again, I was repurposing my time in there too. Because now, if I am doing the open house, I am posting on my social media. I'm doing an open house of this 1 million, 2 million, $3 million house, right? So I am posting that. And then when I am in that house, I am doing a video tour. So I was using that content just to be posting there. That doesn't mean that I didn't help someone buy a condo at 350, it nothing that, but this is how do you want it to be known, right? You can still help everybody, but how do you want to be known? So I think I just kind of made those decisions from the beginning of like where you want to farm, right? Where do you want to be known? And even though I am like, I'm not going to say I am not number one here in my town because they're very top, high producing agents in here, but I am definitely getting there, right? Again, it's don't be afraid of asking someone else. And a lot of the agents that I did open houses for them, 99% of them are not with my brokerage, right? So you just pick up the phone, you already have a no, and you keep going. And then so it took me just now, I think 2 months that I actually joined the luxury division within EXP. But I never really even felt the need to do that, to be quite frank, because I felt like I have been positioning me from day one as a luxury agent. And you need to believe in that, right? Because otherwise, just like it does in the beginning, feels almost kind of like I haven't even sold anything, but I am saying I'm a luxury agent. But again, it's your environment where you're going, the places, the people that you're meeting. So that was kind of a little bit of my, first, foot at the door of getting to luxury. And even if I was going to towns nearby, the concept I always stays the same. Houses needs to be over $1 million and, staged and looks, up the curb appeal so that when I'm posting those pictures or videos, it looks amazing, right? And it always amazed me that people never read the captions because in there I always put the credit to the listing agent and they're like, congratulations. And like, okay, thank you. They're thinking it's all my listings. But yeah, obviously a lot of hard work, but the more strategic you can be with your plan, you can already be in that industry. You don't have to have like someone comes and give you a title for that.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely love what you said, and there are a couple of huge takeaways I took from it, which I think are extremely important. Is first, obviously when you're choosing open houses, and that's one of the things I love about open houses myself as well too, is you can kind of choose the area that you're in, and obviously if you want to be in luxury, well, do open houses in with luxury listings, in luxury communities. And then the second thing that you mentioned, which I think is extremely important, and I've mentioned this to multiple agents as well too, is that if you want to get in luxury, hang around luxury people, hang where they're at. If you want to sell luxury homes, go to the country club, talk to people there. Now obviously you have to get out there and talk, and obviously like you mentioned, you're very sociable, so I'm sure you know a lot of people in those industries and those areas, and you're talking to them, and I think that's extremely important as well too. So, now with that being said, you kind of mentioned it, as far as being with EXP and kind of being in the luxury division. Obviously, we're both, with EXP, and we're kind of with the same organization as well too. Have you always been with EXP ever since you got into real estate, or what kind of got you into EXP when you first joined the brokerage?
Yes, I mean, I do feel very blessed that I have been with the company since day one while I was getting my license. So the person that kind of encouraged me, right? He was realtor, he still is. He was at Compass and he was making his transition to EXP. I didn't know who EXP was. To be honest, like I wasn't really paying attention on the brokerage itself. At that time, I had told him like, you told me to do this. So now you're gonna have to back me up and you're gonna have to coach me in this industry. So it just happens that he was transitioning to EXP. But like, as I said, 1 month in, not only what helped me fall in love with real estate was just like, how quickly things were moving for me, but also the community that I found. I really felt like I found my tribe. And I've been, again, in many conferences and big networking events for, big organizations. And when I came in just joining the masterminds every week, I was so hyped up. Like I was just like, this is my people. This is my people. Like they're so positive. The collaboration here is unreal. So I just like, dove in like, you know, full body, 100% in. And I think that helped me. I was excited to try it out, the whole industry, but I think like the support that I received from day one, it helps me be where I'm at today.
Nice, nice. Yeah, and obviously we're both part of the same organization within the Wolf Pack, which is obviously led by Mike Sherrard. And I know my experience has kind of been the exact same, ever since I've joined the organization. So have you always been with the Wolf Pack, or were you ever did you look into any other organizations when you first joined? And then as far as being part of the Wolf Pack, I know you mentioned some of the support that you get as well too. But what are some of your favorite things about being other than just the community that you enjoy about being part of the Wolf Pack?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I did join, under so my sponsor is just one layer below Mike. So join, the XP and the Wolfpack, from day one and been drinking the Kool-Aid since then. But I think one, I wanted to be in social media. And here's sometimes people mistake. It's just not because someone is social, they're ready for social media, right? I was social, but I dreaded like when I started doing my first videos. Obviously now I post like way too many for you guys to go back, almost three 3 years ago. But it was awful. It was awful. But I believed in the system, right? Like just so the social media agent, the social media training that we have definitely, that helped me right away to just like, with some of my experience just in the industry from afar, because I never been in marketing itself, but, kind of had a little bit of a, just I'll say like just that eye for, clean, things are clean, having things popping up in every color or, it just feels random to me. So that does not align with just even me as a consumer. So I think the training definitely helped me a lot. And I think the other thing that was like very big for me and has been throughout the career, it was just the mindset calls. I feel like you really helped me to just like I feel like I've grown so much as a person, even more than just, my business, because then it just influenced my business, but it influenced my personal life and how I do life. And I feel like the mindset calls that we have every Monday, so it kind of kicks off the week. I mean, if I'm sick, I think the only times I don't like participate is if I'm traveling and if it's just like the time zone is just crazy. But otherwise, it's something that I don't miss because I feel like it's just like a lifeline every week, because this business is not like we're saying that everything's beautiful, everything works out. There's tough days, there's tough weeks. And so I feel like, that those calls really help me just kind of keep your perspective. Or when you're hearing other people's wins, right? Oh, I closed this deal. It never made me feel like, oh, poor me. Like, oh man, everybody's closing deals. It made me feel like, oh man, I know I'm doing the right thing, right? I'm being consistent. One of these days, I'm the one that is going to be able to speak in this call and talk about my wins. So it was more inspiring than the other way around. But I think it's because of the environment made me think that way, right? Instead of looking at someone else's win and make me feel bad for myself.
Yep, yep, awesome. I love it. So just kind of let everyone know if everyone, and if there's another agent out there that's watching this podcast and they, love everything you're saying, it's resonating with them, and they want some personal help, mentorship, or even looking like maybe a partnership opportunity with you within the Wolf Pack. What's the best way for someone to get a hold of you to have that conversation and kind of see if it might be a good fit for them?
Yeah, and I mean, like, Amanda Girl Fisher, it's my, um, handle at Instagram. I'm there all the time, talking to agents. You can DM me. I do have a top agent, wolfpack.com. It's just a link that talks a little bit more about, who we are here as a community. And you can go directly to my calendar and schedule something. But, it has totally changed my life. And because I had been in management for, many years before, jumping into real estate, I absolutely love helping agents because I might not be able to walk for you or talk for you, but I can pretty much help with everything else, just because I come already with that mindset of like helping other people achieve their goals, even though it was a different industry, but the basic, it's the same.
Nice, nice. Awesome. Well, I do have one final question, just because this is something I think that a lot of people, especially as someone who works a full-time job, might struggle with when they first get into real estate. So, when you decided to officially get into real estate full-time, what were kind of the deciding factors where you felt like it was the right time that you could quit your job, jump into real estate full-time, and what did that look like?
I'm so glad that you asked that because I think, when I made that whole 1 year, like 1 year, I'm going to do this too, side by side, and then I will decide what I want to do. Well, 1 month in, I knew I wanted to do real estate, right? And financials and life and other things kind of got on the way. And I mean, I probably should have, when I look back, obviously, you take your losses and you learn, but I probably should have jumped in, after those 5 months already making like $90,000 extra, right? Because we think it needs to be perfect. I wanted to do the saving, which I think most people think, right? Right. Once I save for at least 6 months, for rainy days, then I would jump in. And that was the plan. And so I talked to my husband and we're like, okay, this year, which was last year, I said by June, I am going to get into real estate full time. And I did save the money, but then we bought an investment property. So all the money went there. And then I was just like, this was not my plan. This was the family plan, but this was not my plan. And so I just kind of like, it took me 3 months towards the end of last year, telling myself, no matter what, in January, I'm starting full time. I had no savings. Like, as I said, like all this money that came in, it went out into like some other personal things that we decided to do. So I started with just knowing that this is what I was supposed to do. And it was still like, a few months. I was sitting in the edge of my chair. I'm just like, where the deals are going to come? How am I going to pay my bills? I had my first closing in January this year, and then my next one was April. But since April, I've been closing almost 2 deals every month. So it was just like, putting the seeds, but it's not an easy. I feel like you need to know in your core, is this for me? Then you're going to be successful because you're not going to be sitting around. Like I couldn't sit around and just hope someone's going to come and tell me they want to buy, right? So you have that incentive because now I don't have my safety net anymore from my previous job. So, I needed to make sure I can pay my bills and not only that, because I'm not in this business just to pay my bills, right? And I want to go above and beyond in that. And now, like 9 months later, I'm very close of like making what I made last year with both jobs.
Nice, nice, awesome. Yeah, I love that. That's super exciting. That you're able to get in this industry full time. I know that's definitely something that a lot of agents struggle with. So I definitely appreciate you hopping on. If anyone wants to contact Amanda, I'm gonna have her contact information in the description below. So don't hesitate to reach out to her, especially if you want to look at what a partnership opportunity might look like and getting access to all the same stuff that we both get access to within the Wolf Pack. So Amanda, thank you again for hopping on, and I hope you all have an amazing day.
Thank you so much. Take care, everybody.
Bye.